Well, welcome everybody to Don Cherry's Grapevine podcast. I'm here with Dad and Cindy. Dell's at the controls. I'm Tim, and Dad, we got something new.
Yeah, we have something new. You know, Tim, I talked to the Painter brothers, Daryl and Chris and his dad, and you know, I know the restaurants are having a tough time, and I made a suggestion to Chris, and so we're going to talk about it. We have. By the way, they call them restaurant Don Cherry Sports Grill now, right?
Right.
Let me tell you a story. So I had a partner a long time ago, and he came to me and he said, "Don,
just the original name of the bars
was Don Cherry's Restaurant."
No,
yeah.
Grapevine.
Oh, Grapevine.
Grapevine Restaurant.
Yeah, Grapevine Restaurants. So anyhow, this was the Don Cherry's Grapevine Restaurants. That was the name we started with a long time ago. Hamilton, right?
Yep.
Hamilton, boy,
on Main Street.
On Main Street, what a place that was! Holy smokes! We started out. I remember we started. I had a partner called Jerry Patterson, great guy, and he was like my agent. Gord, I forget. Do you remember the last?
Gord Badger.
Gord Badger, yeah. So we went out. We went this place, went that place, went that place. We never found a place that. So then we go to Hamilton, and I walked in. I knew it was perfect. It just looked like a Boston bar, and Boston.
It was on Main and Walnut, and it used to be a seafood restaurant.
Yeah, and they left, and when they left, they just left everything. Bing, gone. Like the day they walked out.
Yeah, it looked like The Walking Dead. You know what I mean? Like there was actually soup bowls with soup that had congealed.
Yeah, and I remember the spoon was sticking straight up.
Like they just got up and ran out.
Just left. That's it. We're done. And I said, "This is it. We're gonna be terrific." And my partner Jerry Patterson, God love him, and Gord Badger said, "Well, we're not getting in this." And I said, "Well, this is it." And I knew it. I thought it'd be great. So anyhow. I had a partner, and should I name Rick Scully?
Yep.
Yeah, and Rick put up the money, and he was the guy that took the chance. My name and everything, but he put up the money. So we were so successful. I mean, it was unbelievable. If you wanted to go to the front door, you couldn't go through the place. You had to go around the outside. They were lined up the outside. I think it went for about 6 years. I'm going to hurry this through. So anyhow, one time, Rick came to me and said, "No, I'm not knocking Rick. I mean, Rick, he's the guy that made it go." And so he says, "We're going to change the name." I said, "Oh, going to change the name. We're pretty successful. We're going to change it. We're more food, more of a restaurant."
Yeah, because we were kind of known as we were a dance bar, but a sports dance bar because we had all the TVs and you could watch all the games and everything.
Yeah, it was just jammed. Remember the time we had Team Sweden in there, and
yeah, you were there working that one night, Cindy. It was I forget what it would have been the year that the what do you call it, the Canada Cup was on in Hamilton, and on a Friday night, which we were jammed anyway, there was Team Sweden, Team Canada was in, some of the USA guys, and then a bunch of the Buffalo Bills. Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills came up from Buffalo. And they were in there. So a normal guy had no chance in there that night because there was all these good-looking millionaire athletes walking around.
I was bartending the Jim Kellys at the end. Ray Bork's at there and everything.
Yeah, Ray Bork was there.
Yeah.
Didn't you say Team Sweden said, "Look"?
Well, one night were you working that night?
Yep.
The one night, and it was like a Wednesday night, and it wasn't very busy, and they were sitting there. And there was nothing on TV, so they said, "Don't you have those hockey fight tapes?" And that back then, hockey fight tapes were the big thing, right? Because there was no TV.
Well, they are.
So we threw them on, and they watched the tape, and then they stopped. They just said, "Look, let's just order the beer just bring the beer by the case, right?"
Yeah, bring us a case out and put it down. We tired of ordering one at a time, and so anyhow, it was a great sports bar, and what a dance bar it was too. Holy smokes! I often thought that floor would collapse. I think the floor did collapse at one time, didn't it, Tim?
Yeah, the building in Walnut and Maine was really old, and it used to be like a dance, like an old like live music, and they said BB King played there. A lot of blues guys used to come up, and they said when BB King was playing that the floor cracked. And if you went in the basement, there's this huge beam that runs along the whole building to keep the floor from collapsing.
And remember the speakers we had? They were on chains.
Yeah,
make your heart.
That's why I'm going deaf.
Yeah, me too. Anyhow, he came to me, and we were noted for food. We had pretty good food too. Yeah. What we have? What we had escargot. We got rid of all that stuff. So, Cindy, you were a bartender there. How did you do?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was our original bar, and it had a great combination of, we were like a dance bar Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. It was packed, line up around the bar to get in. We had a very strict dress code. We had beautiful women coming in. And,
the guys had to wear a collar, right?
Guys had to wear a collar, very, very strict. And then on the other nights, we were a sports bar. So we were very well managed in that we did the combination of...
Rick and Kim Wright, I think, did a good job.
Yeah, in managing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
You made a lot of money there.
I made a lot of money. We had a stand-up bar. We had 4 bartenders going. It was a huge, huge stand-up bar. We made about 150.
I have to jump into, and for 3 years I tried to get just a beer bar, and they said, no, we'll never have a beer bar. The wine. I said, no, I know beer guys that drink beer because I'm a beer drinker, and I said, let's we'll get 2 great big aluminum, tubs, yeah, and we'll put all ice. And the guys at Ching Bing, no, and I'll get a good-looking girl in the back, and finally they did it. The beer went out there, you couldn't believe. Anyhow, we have.
Well, what happened was we were, as the story goes, there was Don Cherry's Grapevine, and they said, we want to get away from the sports. We want to be more restaurants, so we're going to call it Don Cherry Sports Grill.
I said, wait a minute. Like, I'm a little confused here. We want more people to think it's a restaurant, and we don't want them to think it's a sports grill, yet we're naming it Sports Grill, and it was a restaurant. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be one of our sponsors.
Yeah, and we want to talk about Tim Turner. I really like that name, Tim Turner in Parry Sound, and we must talk about Parry Sound.
Yeah, he's the owner of the Parry Sound Don Cherry's.
Tuesday's Wings Night. But we want to talk about the one in Sydney, Nova Scotia. As a girl runs it, Tara Colbert. And Wig Night is Tuesday and Wednesday. It seems Tuesday and Wednesday is the night. And Sydney, you like a woman running the restaurant, eh?
Well, I think they're more detailed orientated. They know how to hire the staff. They know how to be organized.
They're cleaner.
They're very into cleaning. I mean, I manage the restaurants, and I enjoyed it.
You did too, eh?
Yeah.
You took over for Cindy because Cindy had Dell, who's running the sound right now.
Yeah, the full circle.
It was the Queensway bar, and that was supposed to be my bar. I was going to run it, and I think the night before we signed the papers, I found out that I was going to have Dell, and that was the end of that. So that's a little bit of history. We still bought it, and Tim stepped in, and we ran it again. Very, very successful bar at Queensway and Kipling. And eventually, the secret of owning a restaurant is build them up really well that they're making money and then sell them.
Well,
yeah, we got out a little bit late.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I'm glad you're telling me all this. So anyhow, we got Tara in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and I said, Tim, give me some guys, hockey players from Nova Scotia.
Well, everybody, the first guy you think of is Sidney Crosby, and then you think, of McKinnon, but then you go, well, who else? And after that, but
holy smokes! And can I want to read some of the names, okay?
These are players from Nova Scotia.
All right. Al McInnes, Hall of Fame guy, can shoot a puck. He had 100 miles an hour with a wooden stick.
At the All-Star game.
All-Star game, and they're trying to, I think one guy beat him. Sidney Crosby, Bobby Smith, Glenn Murray, Brad Marchand, the guy that you'd put on the ice if you were down 1 goal. He'd always tie it up with Boston. Nathan McKinnon, I mean, he was the second to me. I mean, did they had a close up of him after he got beat out? What happened? Like him and Kadri.
Well, if McDavid didn't win, to me, I thought McDavid should have won the Hart. But if it wasn't for him, I think that McKinnon should have won.
Yeah, McKinnon. Mike McPhee, Lowell McDonald. I remember Lowell McDonald played. Doug Sullivan, Parker McDonald played with Parker, and he served his time in Springfield Indians, and he went to New York Rangers. Flash Hollett, I'd like to talk about Flash. He was the guy that got 19 goals, and it took Bobby Orr 20 years. 20 years later, Bobby he had that record, and then he went. Bobby Orr broke it. And I must talk about him. Alex Killorn, Tony Curry, Andrew McDonald, John Sims, Norm Ferguson, Colin White, good defenseman Colin White. I think he was a defenseman, wasn't he? Wasn't he the guy that played with Stevens?
Yes, I think he did. Yeah. He was the guy that used to steer the guys into the center.
Well, he'd steer the guys like we must talk about Lindros the time. Like he let on. He was being beat from on the left hand side, so the guy would cut into center ice, and Stevens would be coming the other way. Boy, I'll tell you, Bob Hess, Peter Marsh, Paul Boutelier, Al McNeil. Al McNeil's the only guy that ever got fired after winning the Stanley Cup.
Man, you coached against him in the American League?
I coached it. Well, he was sent down to the American League. He won the Stanley Cup. He was sent down to the American Hockey League because the Pocket the Rocket said he was the worst coach, and I don't. He was just mad because he was benched. He won the Stanley Cup. Now get this. He won the Stanley Cup, and he was in the American Hockey League
the next year.
And he used to play with Bobby Bond. They were the original Bruce brothers. Both could hit. James Shepard could score 40 goals. Paul Landry, Eric Bolton, Eric Johnson, Bill Riley, Mel Davis, John McKinnon, Logan Shaw, Craig McDonald, John Hanna. I could tell you a story. Sometimes I'll tell you the story. He was coach in Jacksonville and Winswick. It's a funny story. Remind me to tell the story. It's a great story. Ryan Graves. Well, Ryan Graves was the best plus in the National Hockey League, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was best plus minus this year with plus 40.
Plus 40. Imagine that. Bobby Orr was what, 120? I think
128.
128. Really ridiculous. Anyhow, Ron Graves, when you're plus 40, boy, and the rest of you did good. Cam Russell, Tom McCarthy, Derek Wassner, and I'm reading all these here.
Is that the guy, Tom McCarthy?
I think that's the Tom. That was the Tom McCarthy who played for Minnesota. I think he was number 1 draft. The other guy was Black Tom. We used to call him Black. He was he had dark black curly hair, and he was from Toronto. When he was on the ice, no kidding. When he was on the ice, Darryl go grapes, and if I didn't notice on the ice, and he'd make his eyes go this way, and you'd see Tom McCarthy. Boy, nobody fool with this guy. Was he a tough? And he was a big, tall guy. He was about 6'2", could put a puck in, but he must have done something that because when he was at the Toronto Maple Leafs camp, they never even give him a shot. Never give him, and he'd terrify you. And he could score 50 goals and terrify you, and he never got a shot. Wally Wilson, Stan Jackson, Wayne Maxter. Wayne Maxter coached junior. He was a good junior coach. Dave Amadio. Guess Dave and poor Dave Amadio. Dave Amadio got traded from Sudbury, and I went to Sudbury. I remember coming home telling Rose, we're going to Sudbury, and she's from Hershey. Well, where is that? I said, well, it's up in northern Canada. Does it get cold there? It gets cold. And so Dave Amadio, Gwen, he was a big guy, boy. He was about 6'3". He was a big guy. He was a good defenseman. He could play National Hockey League now. And they were kind of cruel, the fans in Springfield, and they are, hey, you traded cherry for a lemon. I thought that was pretty good. And Kevin Morrison played for me. I must tell about him and his fight with Bob Kelly, and also must tell a story about him and Lanny McDonald.
Bit of drinking contest.
And Doug McLean and Wendell Young. Remember, he was a goaltender.
Yep.
Anyhow, I asked for, I thought there'd be a few guys from Nova Scotia. But McKinnon, two best spots. After McDavid, I would have to say McKinnon and Crosby. Two of the best.
Yeah,
hockey
and
players.
Marchand. I mean, how would you like having that line?
Boy, nice. Boy, if they ever made a line from, if they ever made a team from Nova Scotia, holy smokes. Anyhow, Tara, we wish you the best of luck. And I know it's a tough time right now. And I know we're really pumping the restaurants. I know they're having a tough time. Everybody's having a tough time, but the restaurants especially. Tim, we have another sponsor who I'm really interested in. Tell us about him.
Spreads.ca. It's a First Nations-owned online casino and sportsbook, and it's tailored to Canadians, which means when you put your deposit down, it's Canadian dollars because all the other guys are U.S. dollars. So sign up now and enter the promo code GRAPES, and they'll match your deposit 100% up to $500. Terms and conditions apply. So that means if you put $50 in, they'll match the $50. You get 15 spins on their kind of like a Don Cherry slot machine, and if you can win up to $1 million. And with your first sports bet, you get $25. And I didn't do very well. I bet against the Astros. Now they're in the pennant race, and then I bet the Yankees.
I hope they win.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, well, they've got a chip on their shoulder, and you know why? Because they were the team that cheated, and the players took all the
abuse and everything. Well, they're playing Tampa, and they beat Tampa last year, so that'll be a good game.